Let's not waste any emotions. Let's get them all on the canvas here.
Love it. Love it.
You're listening to the one and only Dawgs Show. Your hosts, Troop Brenson and Smooch Moncrief.
Just two dudes talking Georgia football.
Rapid reaction.
Dog fans, this is a rapid reaction with Troop and Smooch, and fresh off a defeat, not routinely seen in the Kirby Smart era. Georgia loses to Ole Miss.
Yeah,
it was 28-10 is the final score, and so we have been a part of like a group chat this whole ball game, going back and forth, and so we wanted to share some of what our thoughts were with the Georgia program right now and what we've seen tonight specifically, and then going forward. Smooch, what do you think about what we saw tonight? You had some thoughts, whether it be defensively or offensively, as a team, a program. I don't know. I think it's more of as this team in 2024 and what we saw. What are your thoughts immediately?
Yes, I think that we do a very good job of encouraging our players to take accountability when they come up short, when they do not, quote, execute, when, Kirby's very thorough with what their responsibilities are, when they do not do what they are coached, what they are trained to do. We do a very good job of accountability there. That's why players come to our program. However, I think at some point a coach needs to be accountable when he brings a team in against a coordinator, not a coach, a coordinator like Lane Kiffin, and they are not prepared to handle it. And then on top of that, they don't make adjustments. They seem to just try to execute better rather than put aggressive pressure on. And I really felt it in this game. You'll hear it throughout my frustration, both on offense and defense. And offense, you can chalk it up to a number of things besides coaching. But on defense, there was a lack of attack. It was a lack of aggression. And I don't think you can keep these alpha males keyed in on a game, especially when the chips are down, without playing aggressive. When you're rushing 3 and dropping 8, rushing 4, and dropping 7, I don't see it, man.
So Smooch really feels like the defense set the tone tonight and give 28 points. And it's a 3 turnovers for Georgia. We'll look at the stats real quick. Georgia only 245 yards total offense, and Ole Miss just under 400. Georgia with 3 turnovers again, and just 1 for Ole Miss. And the first possession, we watched that first possession for Ole Miss, and Georgia just attacked them immediately.
Dominated.
And hit him and threw an interception that led to Georgia's touchdown. And you thought, this is not going to be good for Ole Miss. It's Georgia's coming in again and enforcing their will. And so we loved that, because that's what our defense should be.
Right.
And I thought offensively, Georgia came out and wanted to also very physically enforce their will with the run. They ran the first 4 or 5 plays of the game in the first series, and just ran the ball. We're going to do this. This is what we are. We're more physical. We're better than you are. And that was the first. And we saw that. We've seen this before, folks, in the first quarter against other opponents, when they would do something great and we would kind of like adjust and kind of catch ourselves and be able to finish the rest of the game. That's what Ole Miss did. That's right. What Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Georgia looked like the juggernauts in the first series of the game, and then Ole Miss took the game over. And I will say the difference in what me and Smooch think why we wanted to put this on record tonight, because we all are usually in very much tandem, but I thought it was the offense. I thought Georgia's offense was the problem. And it was more so not I don't think it was the play calling. Do not think that Carson Beck had a bad game. I thought the receivers had a poor game. I
don't even think Bobo had a bad game.
I don't.
People are saying that everywhere online, but I don't think that's true.
That's an easy answer, right?
Yes, yes, exactly.
But Bobo, I was watching the games like this is it's an expertly called series here, and Bobo was doing. I was like, this looks like he was in his bag, but the offensive line played very poorly. We told you guys last week that what we had heard, from this point to this point, Ole Miss had a defensive line, a defensive front seven that was really salty, and they were going to give us problems. I didn't see it. But when your offensive line didn't play well, Tate Rowledge has a couple of mistakes early. Your tackles just get abused.
Ernest
Green just got ran by like
lost about $4 million tonight. Yeah,
like he was playing for South Carolina or something.
Right.
No, he wasn't. He's playing for the Georgia Bulldogs, and he got ran by multiple times, and that affects things. Your receivers didn't catch the ball early. We had a couple of penalties early. I thought offense didn't keep pace. The whole point of this game, I thought that Georgia would be able to. It might be a shootout. It might be a 40 to 30 type game. But Georgia's offense was going to have to do that. They did not. 10 points.
10 points.
10 points. And so that's where I fell on this. And Smooch was like, the defense was not aggressive enough to create. So if you know you got an offense that's limited in terms of, because we all feel like Carson Beck is just not that elite type quarterback. He's not. He can succeed on a team that everything surrounding him is functioning really at a high level. And so I agree with that actually. Mm-hmm. But Smooch's whole point the whole game was that the defense didn't put us in position and aggressive. It was more of a mindset, right?
A
Smooch?
tone. Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
It was the tone, Troop. That's what I didn't. I see, and this has happened. This is all the way back to the Saban years and Kirby when they were together. There is a style of defense, this read and react, and high level assignment defense where you have 2 or 3 assignments per play you have to make, and they were able to roll this incredible talent onto the field for years and succeed with that style of defense. And now what we're seeing are fast, twitchy men being brought in through the transfer portal, through NIL, however you want to look at it, and turned loose toward the quarterback, and Georgia is not keeping up. That is my take on this game. We looked like we had an archaic style, catch and release style of defense in this game, where we were reading, we were reacting, and we were seemingly never attacking. Look at that first possession. We attacked. It was tackle for a loss, sack, interception, first 3 plays. That's how the game started. And then much like we did, Troop, this is what puzzles me so much. And if you read my text during the game, you can see the level of frustration. In the SEC title game against Alabama last year, we came out, perfect game plan, and seemed to just take it right to them and then retreat into ourselves on offense. And I felt that in this game, Troop Brinson, we did that on defense. We came out, we dominated, we slapped them around, and then we went into this. I jokingly put, "Are we in a prevent? Like, what are we doing? How are all these slants? You don't have to be a good quarterback to hit those slants. There was no one around them." And the idea of rushing 3 and 4, I think that I remember in the first half, I think I heard this stat that when blitzed, Jackson Dart in the first half had 1 completion. But for some reason, that didn't seem enticing to us. That's the part that I found extraordinarily frustrating from a philosophy and coaching standpoint, Troop.
Well, they were able to like spread us out, and Dart was very accurate.
Yeah,
and
he's a darn good quarterback. Yeah,
any traffic he had, he was able to find those receivers on slants. He spread them out, and they had space and find those slants when they needed them. And that was. And so the difference between this Georgia defense, which is a good defense, but it's more on the edges. If you look at some of the dominant defenses of the past, they created problems up front, up right up the middle, which changes everything. And Georgia they have very good defensive linemen. They don't have the disruptors like a Stackhouse, Brinson, Christian Miller, very, very good defensive tackles. They don't create pressure up the middle.
They're edge setters. They're guys that hold their ground. They tackle well. Yeah,
and
they tackle well. They're not guys that cause havoc.
So the havoc would come from either your defensive ends, your outside linebackers, or your inside linebackers. And sometimes, and Georgia sent some inside linebackers. Sometimes that got home. If it didn't, Dart was able to find a backer or a running back in space to dump that off.
Right.
So they executed very well.
Yes.
Georgia didn't execute as well. And let's not lose this. It was at Ole Miss.
Yeah, that's true.
And they were very comfortable in that. And you really should have an advantage there. Mm-hmm. But as a program, we said this before, as a program, Georgia should win this game. And we got beat 28-10 in a game. As a program, we should probably win. And Carson Beck, let's look at the stats real quick so we can have a little context behind that. 20 for 31. That's not a bad completion percentage.
No.
Only 6 per average. So 6 yards average on those. That's really short stuff. And 186 yards overall. He had a pick, and that wasn't his fault either. So he was very controlled. I felt like Georgia wanted to come out and run the ball and impose their will. And from a running back perspective, Frazier looked the best. He looked really good, but he can only do so much. He had 12 carries for 47 yards. That's just under 4 average. Had a touchdown. And Etienne, only 6 carries for Etienne, which would tell you that either you're behind or Etienne is not healthy enough to carry the load. I think it was some of both, but Etienne's very healthy. He's carrying the load there because he made people miss in space on several plays where the defense got into the backfield.
Yeah, he had a brilliant second and 8, I believe it was, run where it should have been a 3-yard loss. And ETN doesn't put the ball on the ground, and Frazier does. One of those fumbles you can forget. One of those fumbles you can forgive. It's hard to say this, but there are some times where Nolan outplayed him, and that was an awesome play. The other fumble was inexcusable.
Yeah. So as a rapid reaction, folks, we got really emotional in our chat group. We were like, we can put this stuff on tape. This is really good. Put it on for you folks can hear it because you're feeling the same way. And it goes both ways. And so if folks want to blame Bobo, not tonight, you want to blame Beck, maybe some way Beck. If you want to blame Kirby Smart or the offensive line or the wide receivers, those are all very you can look at all those aspects, but that comes to a team, right? Yeah. Your team got outplayed tonight, and
from top to bottom, and in every aspect of the game.
That you know what that is? That's sports.
Yeah,
that's competition, and that's playing at home. That's playing in a situation where your back's against the wall, and you already got 2 losses. So all those things matter, and I think that Ole Miss played to a at home, and really, they had no margin for error, and they executed perfectly. We've seen Georgia do that, and they did that tonight. So Georgia with 2 losses, 7-2, and it feels unusual. We're trying to find a way to figure out how we feel about Georgia losing because it doesn't happen very often. We used to losing to Alabama. We're not used to losing to Ole Miss.
Right.
Even so. So I called it, and our chat group said you can't have it both ways, Troop. You can't have it. You can't predict a loss and a win and have the both. But I felt both ways.
You nailed it.
Guess what? It's our podcast. It's our podcast.
That's right.
We can have it both ways. And so I was like, I feel like if these things don't happen, Georgia's going to lose this game. I felt this way before the season because this was a game that wasn't as big, marquee game, but it was a very dangerous game on the road. Before a big Tennessee game. And not that Georgia overlooked this, but it's tough to get up every week. Oh, these are 18, 19-year-old kids. It's tough to get these guys to play to their potential physically and mentally. It's both of those things, right?
Yeah.
And so it's tough to do that. And so this was the game Georgia didn't put those things together. So let's narrow that to that right there. Right. That makes the most sense to me. It's tough because we know talent-wise, Georgia's better, is as good as anybody in the country, right? You agree with that?
100%.
It's tough to get to the point where you say that mentally and physically it's tough to get up every single week.
Right.
And Does Ole Miss have the same schedule Georgia does? No. And so this is a game that they have to put every
every resource,
everything into this game. And fortunately for Lane Kiffin, for that program, they did it. They played to their maximum potential, and Dart was injured. That might have helped them. That might have helped them. We've seen that before. Get injured, you really consolidate what you can do.
Yeah, I think that we're going to learn something about this team, because I have my doubts. I really have my doubts about this team.
So you have your doubts about this team as a championship, maybe level team.
Yeah, you're not as a playoff team or anything like that, and they're really good. I have my doubts as terms of whether this team can win a title. Now, interestingly enough, on this show, I said I think the national champion this year will have 2 losses. I said that on our show way back before the season started, because of the schedules that some of these top teams have to play. I cited Georgia and Alabama, and I think even LSU. I can't remember. No, it was Texas. Texas also has a tough schedule. Where we're going to find out something is this Tennessee game, because Tennessee is going to come in. They're going to be more aggressive on defense than Ole Miss was. They're going to be probably not as consistent on offense as Ole Miss was, but they're going to be more aggressive on defense. So how are we as a team going to answer the bell on defense? That's going to tell me so much. Are we going to turn our 4 and 5 stars loose and say, hey, it's on your shoulders. Go out there with your hair on fire, run around the field, hit the quarterback, blow things up? Or are we going to see 5 stars running into non-NFL players on the offensive line and sticking to them like glue, while the quarterback sits back there, goes to his 4th progression, and hits a guy wide open in the middle of the field? Either one of those is possible. I want to see the other one, where the Dogs come out with their hair on fire and play tough.
That's the fun part of it. We don't know.
Right.
We get to watch it. And so I will say that a upperclassman like Jackson Dart, he was able to execute, and he was able to use whatever the game plan was good, and they used that very well tonight. And give them credit. They didn't take much time, because if you take much time against Georgia defense, they will get to you.
Yeah.
And so it's much different than a Texas offense. Quinn Ewers, he did not know what he was looking at. He held the ball. Jackson Dart was like bam, 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 bam. And
I'll say this. On a day where Cam Ward lost to Georgia Tech as the Heisman front runner, as they were calling him, you've got to say Jackson Dart is moving up in that conversation at this point, leading the country in passing and a victory over the Georgia Bulldogs. You just got to give it up to him at that point.
You do, because he executed, and it's always a week-to-week thing. It is because these games are all independent of each other, and teams learn. Coaching staff and the players learn different things about themselves and about the competition. I still feel good about Georgia's talent level and about their coaching staff. And I know we question it on the chat group, Smooch. We question everything: the coaching staff, the quarterback, the O-line, the defensive staff. What are your philosophy? We do all that, but as a whole, Georgia as a program is set up to win these type games, or win the games going forward. I don't know if they will this season, and that's the fun part of it. I mentioned that earlier. I like anxiety. I like thinking, can we win this game? So this game, I felt anxiety early in the week, and I felt better and better and better going forward, because I thought Georgia was really focused on this. But in the bottom line was that Ole Miss had this game at home, and they were really, really focused on winning this game against all odds, whatever happened.
And their fans, the crowd, their fans were they never stopped. I remember we looked at their fans in the first quarter, and I said, they won't be like that in 45 minutes. I was wrong. They were like that for the next 3.5 hours.
It was 68,000 people. It wasn't like 200,000. But I will say, so in that first quarter, I'm like, I think I'm going to mix a drink. I hadn't drank. And so I'm on like, this is drink number 4 or 5.
Okay.
And this is like a big one.
We're holding it together beautifully. Yeah.
That's like 14-ounce glass here. So we got Alabama, Tennessee, Alabama, LSU to watch in this next game, and we're going to do that. But so next week, home game, and we'll see how Georgia reacts to losing another game, because it's very rare that Georgia loses. But yeah, we just wanted to put this out for you folks and let you know how we feel. We'll have another episode in a couple of days to really break it down. We're all intermingled and all kind of stuff going on the Saturday night in the game and the libations. But we're having a good time.
I love it. It's like this, Troop. I was just talking to my wife a second ago. I said, wherever we are, we're here right now. I'm not trying to sound like Kamala here, but wherever we are, we're here right now. But no, that's not what I mean. I'm saying if Georgia wins every game from here on out, that's the national championship. Because if they win from here on out, they're going to the playoff. If they win all those, that's it. So you're still in charge of your own destiny. Just go out there and win.
And you'll look back at some of these games and say, that was a game that shaped us in a different way that we needed. Mm-hmm. Because here we are winning in the semifinals in a game that we needed to have this experience.
Yeah.
As Georgia fans and a Georgia podcast, that's the way we feel. And we can disagree. Me and Smooch were disagreeing on the chat a little bit, so let's put this on tape. Let's do it.
Yeah, let's get it here. Let's get the people.
As a whole, we still think as a program we'll use this to our benefit. I know we both do.
I just want to see when you say the program evolve and get better, I want to see everybody say they have to get better all the way up to those calling plays and deciding philosophies. I just want them to say, we got to get better, and I'll be good.
Yeah. Nobody hide. There's no hiding. When you make that much money and you make that kind of salary, those guys know that there is definitely a part. It's not just the players,
right?
Yeah, everybody is under the microscope. And Georgia 7-2. We'll see how things go for Georgia with next week against the Tennessee Volunteers at home. So this was the juggernaut. This was the gauntlet coming through, and we'll finish it up next week. We hope. For a better, ending, but we will talk about that in a couple of days when we've had our minds clear just a bit.
True. Before the season, we said if we get through the gauntlet 3-1, we'll consider it a success. If we beat Tennessee, we're through at 3-1.
Yeah,
that's where we are.
That's where we are. So yeah, we'll deal with that in a couple of days. For Smooch Moncrief, this is Troop Brinson. This has been a rapid reaction.
Rapid reaction sheet.
This is the Dog Show with Troop and Smooch.
Woo! Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. It's the Dog Show. It's the Dog Show. It's the Dog Show. It's the Dog Show.
How many texts did we miss on our thread during that?
A lot.